Hey guys, Dave here from Nerdarchy. 4 nerds by nerds, hanging out with some of my esteemed colleagues.
I'm Ted.
I'm Nate.
And today we got GM 911. Nerdarchy, please help us. Ty Johnston is actually offered up the first one we were going to do. We have a couple of different ones you guys have thrown out there, but we just we picked this one out of a hat. And what he wants to know is basically what happens when your players aren't taking any of your hints or adventure hooks, and all they want to do is go to the tavern, drink, and cause mayhem.
And mischief.
Well, the whole purpose of GM 911 is, if you have a problem, we're going to offer up several solutions so that, number one, if your players are happen to be watching, they're not going to know what direction you're going to take, especially if it's a specific issue to deal with.
Hey, wait a minute. Let's go with Nate's option first. What did you say that he should do?
Oh, okay. So your guys are hanging out in the inn all the time and they won't leave. Rule number 1, burn down the inn. So that's my 1 through 3 options are probably things that involve destroying the inn or having terrible things enter the inn. So you don't want to be there anymore. It's not a fun place.
My suggestion is, as a DM, it is your job to entertain the players. And if the players have decided to go in a route other than the story that you have written, it's your job to entertain them. Roll with it. Do what it is that they want, and the more that they're moving against what you have lined up, okay, they're causing mayhem, they're causing a ruckus. Well, maybe it's time to bring in the town guard. Maybe they're gonna get a scene caused by that. The further that goes, the more quote unquote evil actions that they have to take to continue down this carousing campaign.
Well, I don't know about evil necessarily. Yeah, it could be
causing a ruckus.
Good drunken fun. But what about an ogre ninja bouncer?
I think that's going a little bit far of left, but
so actually, what I was going to say, I completely disagree with you. My job as the DM is not to actually entertain the players; they're to entertain me. Dance, monkeys, dance. But no, I think you guys are mixing the real problem here. Is that they're not biting his hooks because his hooks aren't good enough to get their interest. He's trying to put out stories or campaigns that they're not interested in playing. That's the real problem.
Okay.
So that's the source of what Ty needs to fix.
That's the buy-in from. I mean, we've had other GM things where we talk about buy-in from your players.
Right. You buy-in from the players' expectations. Like apparently your players have a different expectation of the game that they're going to play in. I always say if you put out hooks and you're leading them in directions that they want to go, you will never ever have this problem. If you make all your hooks about the characters whenever you can, you need to build off of their backgrounds and their backstories or whatever they gave you. If they gave you only one thing, a character, that's the thing you need to use at some point. You're not going to incorporate the whole party's thing all at the same time, but if they're all kind of hanging out together, generally they're going to want to do the same things. So, generally, if you can hook in one of them, you hook in all of them. I find that, the most effective plot hooks aren't hooks at all, but nets.
Right.
So you have to look at those characters and you have to design the adventures around the characters. So, I feel like you might be missing the point, or you just have a bunch of jackasses on your hand that just want to be rowdy and may cause trouble. But you can also find ways to work with that as well. Like if you know that that's their personality, why not give them opportunities to do that in the game and have that your hook?
Right.
So that's the other route. If you know all they want to do is go to the tavern and get drunk, well, the adventure should happen at the tavern.
Yeah, and let's say you have this planned out adventure for 3 or 4 sessions, and you're like, these guys they're not even interested. They're not going for it. That's your material's still written for that. You can use that sometime down the line. There's always ways to kind of like interweave different things
or chop
together.
it up, chop up the encounters.
Yeah, chop it up,
and throw it back in. But
or say, I've got all this material and I've got these people and their motives. Can I put this in the town? Is it just, come out into the wilderness to my dungeon? What's going to actually be going on? Can you make it just a big house? with an underground section rather than out in the wilderness, a cave or something. So how can you incorporate that to where it's like close if they don't want to actually go anywhere? Or maybe there's a trapdoor in the end that leads to something.
Another thing to look at, we've talked about this before, and that's the importance of what Dave has always referred to as session 0. So if you find out, before, game on officially happens, the characters get to make, the players get to make the characters right there in front of you, and you can kind of see what direction the players are leading for. You can ask specifically, what do you see as a goal for this character? Where are you looking to go with him? And not from a mechanical standpoint, but like, what does this character actually seek? And we've found that it's very, very useful as a tool to the DM to be able to offer, as Dave says, plot hooks and character goals that the player is literally just handing to you upon character creation to say, this is what I'm interested in. And if you've got 6 players at the table, you should be walking away with anywhere from 6 to 12 plot hooks that you can be able to use to build an adventure or build interesting things that happen in and around your adventure to keep the players biting onto what you got.
And I would say the best hook is the one that you do turn into a net by taking all the different plot hooks you're seeing from the backgrounds the players have, and you start sticking them together. Mm-hmm. So how many hooks can you bind together? So it either is one little like tree, or like you get this kind of net going on where you're gathering multiple ones together where they're all like, I'm interested in this because this is about my character.
Yeah. Dave's looking for the man who murdered his father, and Nate's looking for the thief who stole his family brooch. Well, if they wind up being the same guy,
what a coincidence.
Yes.
That's kind of what I was going to say, is like, you can do things that seem like really crazy, wild coincidences that are beyond like comprehension in game, but they're not, because you're the DM and they gave you the idea and you just figured out how to weave them together.
And a lot of times, if you don't, basically, if it could be considered literature, well, in this case, fantasy, so you have your fantasy aspect. What really is improbable in fantasy? So like we're in the same town, me and Dave and I, and you say, well, you find this guy and he's, he has all the markings or whatever of the guy who killed your father, and he's got actually a brooch on him that looks really like the one I'm missing. So you're like, oh, well, that's just a coincidence. Dave and I just happen to be players playing characters finding this out.
So all right, let's go back to the question now, right? So, okay, so for the future, he can start, interweaving more plots that are designed to those specific characters and things that are, came from their backstory and basically what they want to do. And also too, don't be afraid to have a dialogue with your players and go, I put this stuff out, you're not interested in it, why, and what are you looking for? Because why spend time writing stuff or coming up with stuff that no one cares about?
And I would do it on a one-on-one basis. I would kind of like either however you communicate with them, private message to them,
email,
get them on the phone, email them, whatever you want to do. I'm going to hang out with Ted on Friday, so I'll go talk to him about, hey, what do you want to kind of see your character doing in my campaign?
Yeah, and what kind of stories do you want to be involved in playing? You don't have to be a jerk and be like, you guys don't do anything I do. I waste all my time working. Spin it, break my ass.
You're really like, oh, these players, but you don't want to portray that to them.
No,
you want to say, hey, what do you want to see?
And as far as the players might be concerned, they might be on the other side of the table. It's like, man, this guy is not offering up, any interesting stories.
Yeah, I don't want to save a mate and I don't know.
So that you might be frustrated at them for not biting into your hooks, but if they're not seeing your hooks as interesting, you guys might both be butting heads over what you both feel is a negative issue. So if you can talk on them one-on-one and make it look, not make it look like, but you're trying to give them something that the player wants or the character wants.
You find out what their expectations are, and then then it's much easier to meet them when you know what they are. But that's outside the game. Inside the game, okay, we got, all right, tying it to the characters. But forget all that, because they've already gone to the bar and they're already getting drunk. We could do temporary madness because they drunk themselves into a stupor and ripping it right off of the hangover. They have to, and we've talked about this in other videos, where they have to piece together what they did last night. You know, maybe something's missing. Maybe one of their drinking buddies is missing. You know, again, you're gonna have to find something important to make them want to solve the mystery.
Somebody's poisoned the mead.
Someone's poisoned the mead. You know,
Yeah.
and you know, and they've all went mad, and they have to figure out what they did, and then they might later on have to figure out why did someone poison the mead, and like that could be another subplot unto itself.
Yeah, it could
Did
be
they
a
wanna get it
blanket
back?
assassination of some kind of low-level diplomat that was also hanging out in the bar drinking with his.
Well, maybe, but if they all went mad instead of like,
Well, it could be
dying.
a sickness instead or something. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be madness.
well, I just like the whole idea for like the madness
Oh,
aspect
yeah,
where you have to
the-
reconstruct the night before. You know, kind of like in The Hangover. So it's kind of like, and you know, it's kind of zany. It can be kind of fun, and you can do really weird things. Like you guys went to the zoo and you tipped over an owlbear, or well, like if that's what his players want, why not go with it and get crazy with it? And and maybe they were sprites that actually poisoned the mead, and they did it because they thought it would be funny.
Yeah.
They're like, watch what these weird humans do. This is gonna be funny as shit.
We're just gonna sit on the roof, invisible,
And
and watch these guys
Watch
make a
this
fool of themselves.
unfold, right? So that's like one thing you could do. You could burn down the inn, like Nate said. And then, so was it an accident? Was it on purpose? It was at their favorite inn, where you can only get a certain type of ale. Like, get the player buy-in. If they're
They've lost something dear to them.
yeah, if they're really into the drinking and creating mischief aspect, well, try and get them attached to a place so you can really ruin it and take it away from
what
them.
if the mead has been stolen?
Well, that's the other
stolen
thing. The
mead.
recipe, man.
If there's only one inn tavern in this particular town, and all the alcohol had been stolen, it's going to be important to anyone who's going to want to drink.
Because anyone who wants to get drunk, yeah. How do we create mischief if we don't get drunk first?
Exactly.
And again, it could be the local thieves guild that was not happy with.
Could be the church. Be like, you guys drink too much.
It could be the church. Faye could be involved again. It could be somebody who
Wants to get drunk more than you.
maybe it's someone who wants to get drunk, but maybe it's someone who's got like some kind of poison or disease that like alcohol is what's keeping him alive. So he's stolen all of this to
That'd be such a messed up disease.
it's just an idea that popped into my head. Just
roll with it.
Just go with it. So maybe there's something in the alcohol that he actually needs to fight off the disease or keep himself alive while he's trying to fight it off on his own or whatnot.
What if a freaking ankeg bursts up through the floor?
Yeah.
You could
It's actually a burrow underneath.
It totally spills your liquor. Doesn't offer to buy you a new beer,
And tries to melt your face with acid.
and then
whatever.
tries to melt your face with acid. So then you got to smack down the egg keg, and then it's like, all right, if I get another beer, is another egg keg going to come over and knock it over? I don't know. Maybe I should go make sure that there's no more egg kegs.
Yeah. And hang out down there and
And then all of a
Hopefully
sudden,
not die.
all of a sudden they're in a dungeon.
yeah.
If it's a higher level party, hey, why not make it an Umber Hulk?
Oh jeez.
Yeah. So something
God,
burrowing
an Umber Hawk just showing up in the middle of a tavern.
or a boulet.
Or
Bursts
a
out of-
fillet.
Depending on if they've got a basement. If they don't have a basement,
I think
could
you're
be a
giving me
boulet.
indigestion.
Well, I think if it bursts through the floor of your inn, you'd be
Yeah,
upset
yeah.
and want to deal with it.
Or a horde of imps skate in and they're like, I'm spilling your beer. I'm spilling your beer. What are you going to do? I'm spilling your beer.
I'm taking your beer. Give me
Yeah.
that.
So
Poison.
there's a lot of, there's a lot of different weird, crazy things you can do with it. Make the dungeon what you thought was going to be somewhere else. Just put it in town, work it into town. Make it underneath the inn.
And really, like, if you do have silly players and they just want zany stuff, as long as you're not opposed to running that game, give it to them. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Have fun with it. Make it so zany that they want something serious next time.
Yeah, and then you can run your what you had planned.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Did we give you enough options to be able to help you out? Go ahead and put that in the comment section below. If you have an idea that you want to, give a shout out to GM911, we'll do the same thing for you. So like, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz.
While you're at it, go check us out on nerdarchy.com.
You can also check us out in the conversation on Reddit.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.
to go in a route other than the story that you have written, it's your job to entertain them. Roll with it. Do what it is that they want, and the more that they're moving against what you have lined up. Okay, they're causing mayhem. They're causing a ruckus. Well, maybe it's time to bring in the town guard. Maybe they're gonna, get a scene caused by that. The further that goes, the more quote unquote, evil actions that they have to take to continue down this, carousing, campaign.
Hey guys, Dave here from Nerdarchy. 4 nerds by nerds, hanging out with some of my esteemed colleagues.
I'm Ted.
I'm Nate.
And today we got GM 911. Nerdarchy, please help us. Ty Johnston is actually, well, I don't know about evil necessarily. Yeah, it could be
Causing a ruckus.
Good drunken fun. But what about an ogre ninja bouncer?
I think that's going a little bit far of left, but
so. Actually, what I was going to say, I completely disagree with you. My job as the DM is not to actually entertain the players. They're to entertain me. Dance, monkeys, dance! But, no. I think you guys are mixing the real problem here, is that they're not biting his hooks because his hook...
Especially if it's a, specific issue to deal with.
Hey, wait a minute. Let's go with Nate's option first. What did you say that he should do?
Oh, okay. So your guys are hanging out in the inn all the time and they won't leave. Rule number 1, burn down the inn. So that's my 1 through 3 options are probably things that involve destroying the inn or having terrible things enter the inn. So you don't want to be there anymore. It's not a fun place.
My suggestion is, as a DM, it is your job to entertain the players. And if the players have decided...
Offered up the first one we were going to do. We have a couple of different ones you guys have thrown out there, but we just we picked this one out of a hat. And what he wants to know is basically what happens when your players aren't taking any of your hints or adventure hooks, and all they want to do is go to the tavern, drink, and cause mayhem.
And mischief.
Well, the whole purpose of GM 911 is... if you have a problem, we're going to offer up several solutions so that, number 1, if your players happen to be watching, they're not going to know what direction you're going to take.